And guys, we should be live. Welcome to live stream. It is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. I am your host, 𝘎𝘀𝘾𝙊𝙀. Thank you everybody for joining the program. Appreciate all of you guys being here. As you can see, I'm not in my normal location today. I'm just out helping some friends. So different background, but still the same gold, silver pros. Appreciate everyone being here. We do a real quick sound check. Welcome to sound is good. We got a poll up, guys. And for today, we're going to talk about what Oregon's collapse means for precious metals. And I'll tell you what the Oregon collapse looks like. And then we'll talk about what the effect I think that that's going to be on the precious metals. The poll question is, would you live in Portland in its current form or format, if you will? 82% of you are saying no or yes with body tongue-in-cheek option I put there for you. Remember, super chats are open if you want to grab my attention, and because we always during the live streams do a Q&A session. So if you want to ask a question and get an answer from me, the easiest way to do it is a super chat, which does help the program, and I'll try to spend some time in the chat as well and answer any questions that you may have. Okay, I think we are ready to go. Everything is set up, so getting to the presentation. No or yes with body tongue-in-cheek. Sorry about that. Mute wanted to come off on the other side of the stream. Okay, here we go. We are going to talk about what the heck is going on with Oregon. So as we look at Oregon, there are definitely some issues going on. As you can see here, we have 13 counties, I believe, that have voted officially, and this is a Zero Hedge article. They have officially voted to leave Oregon, and those counties are the ones in blue. So they got together, the city leaders got together. I'm sure there were a lot of people involved in each case, and they said, you know what, let's just go join Idaho and let's make something called Greater Idaho. And there's another one, Wallowa, the yellow one here on the chart that wants to do it as well. So we're actually seeing civic leaders say, we don't want to be a part of what's going on in Oregon, specifically Portland, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So what we want to do is actually join Idaho because they're not quite they're not as dangerous to us. And it kind of makes sense because over here in the Portland area, you're going to have your higher concentration population. A lot of this is going to be a little bit lower concentration population, probably more aligned with the ideology of their next door neighbor, Idaho, I would imagine. And so that's probably a lot of what's behind, you know, the potential move and the interest in moving. They're not. But it's interesting to see. And I wonder how many more states are going to do something like this, where basically they say, you know, we're getting out of Dodge because you guys, this whole situation is dangerous to us. And, you know, we don't want it to be a part of that. So why have 13 counties with a 14th potentially voting to form a new state around Idaho and call it Greater Idaho? Well, it could be this. If you look at the crime rates, I just went to Neighborhood Scout, and I've looked at a lot of different crime reporting. It's basically the same. They see that Portland is very dangerous. In fact, there are certain areas that are so dark that it's the most dangerous you could possibly have according to the criteria. And if you scroll down and look at crime statistics, this is the one that really sticks out. Portland is safer than 1% of cities in the US. In other words, they are at the very bottom in terms of safety of any city in the United States. And we're going to go through in a minute, look at their crime statistics. They have a lot of violent crimes and property crimes, and crime rate per 1,000 residents is what we really want to pay attention to because it allows you to compare apples to apples with other cities and states. And if you look at violent crime comparison within state, Portland is more than double the overall average for Oregon, hence why I think a lot of Oregonians don't want to go the direction of Portland and they want to join Greater Idaho instead. Because if you look at Idaho crime statistics, they're very low in comparison to Portland. So Portland has had an increase in violent crimes. If you look at violent crimes per 1,000, Portland's at 0.13 for murder, which is double the national rate. At rape, it's not too much higher, although it is. It's 0.51 to 0.43. And then robbery is almost 3 times. It's 2, maybe 0.8 times or so. And then assault is almost twice as high as well. So the more violent stuff has gone up across the board, with murder and assault and robbery really going up the most. And I imagine as the city struggles with income, it makes total sense that robbery is the one that increased the most percentage-wise compared to where it was before and compared to the rest of the state. And if you look at property crime comparison, you see here Portland's much higher than the rest of Oregon. And if you look at the totals for property rate, Portland is more than double, and maybe 2.25 times the rate of property crimes, burglary, than is across the United States. They're almost very close triple theft. So like I said, it all has to do with economics. That's why you got burglaries and theft. Yes, the violence is going to go up as people struggle and conflict increases. And that is a secondary or add-on effect of the economic, though. I think the economic, you can see the numbers are higher. That's where it started first. Motor vehicle theft is ridiculous. It's 4.5 maybe times in Portland what it is across the United States. And if you look at Portland crimes per square mile, you're looking at a factor of about almost 5 times as much total crimes per square mile in Portland than there is in the rest of Oregon. So Portland right now is basically burning. Rome is burning, and it's a big mess. And I'm about to show you guys some local reports of what's going on. The media is being very explicit here. It's gotten so bad that you're going to hear from local residents and how bad it is. And there's one gentleman who's been here running a service for 40 years, and he's like, yeah, this is by far the worst we've ever seen it, to the point of where he's just hoping something catches and trend reverses. But you can tell, listening to him, he doesn't just have just a tremendous amount of hope that that's actually going to happen. So let's get back to that. Here's a video. Before we do that, one other point I want to make before we get into the videos. Walmart is closing its final 2 stores in Portland due to theft. And I brought up the article from Daily Mail. It's all over the news. Walmart's pulling out of Portland. It's so bad, they're just closing their stores. And this next video, we're going to talk about that. This is from Fox 12 in Oregon, local media covering Walmart's departure from Portland, which shines a light on rampant property crime. Of these 2 videos I'm going to show you, they're about 3 minutes each, so about 6 minutes total. And I'll narrate, in between showing them to you. So we'll take a little bit of time investment, but I think if you see these reports, it really sort of drives home what's going on. Here we go.
Last week, Fox 12 told you that Walmart is pulling its last 2 stores out of Portland, and the move is now getting national attention. Yesterday, Governor Greg Abbott tweeted about it, saying in part, quote, "This is what happens when cities refuse to enforce the rule of law."
So we'll take a little bit of time investment, but I think if you see...
Businesses can't operate in that environment and people can't live in it. Even though Walmart told you that last week there is no single reason for closing down the store, Fox 12's Conor McCarthy spoke with a business owner who says rampant crime sealed Walmart's fate and has reaction from a city commissioner tonight.
Well, Riel, businesses that I spoke with here on Southeast 82nd Avenue say that crime is dictating the future of this neighborhood. And when business owners heard that Walmart was closing, even though the company says for financial reasons, they interpreted that as an increase in crime, like shoplifting. It's a neighborhood in Southeast Portland that business owner Daryl Hansen says has seen better days.
The whole 82nd's changed, in the last 20 years, especially the last 10 years. It's really gone down here in 5 years. Each year it keeps going down and down and down. More crime, more garbage, more homeless people, more drugs, and there's nobody wants to help.
Daryl has owned and worked out of his muffler shop on Southeast 82nd Avenue near the Eastport Plaza for nearly 40 years. Hearing Walmart is pulling out of his neighborhood a few blocks away isn't a shock to him.
It hurts his community right here when they leave. A lot of people depended on that story.
He blames Walmart's exit on the out-of-control crime in the area. He says he's watched businesses close and friends leave Southeast 82nd Avenue for similar reasons.
I have a lot of friends. I've had friends that I deal with before. They said, no, we're leaving Portland. They've left. And that's what Walmart, they left.
The Eastport Plaza sits in the Lentz neighborhood, and according to Portland Police crime data, between January 2022 and 2023, there were 147 burglaries, 634 personal property thefts, 424 car thefts, 53 robberies, and 3 stolen property offenses. Keep in mind, this is just what's been reported to Portland Police. Take a look at this U.S. Post Office on the north side of the Eastport Plaza near the Walmart. Every window is broken, with plywood covering the damage, and neighbors say it's been like this for weeks.
Basically going through hell, and we're going through a really sad times that we have no support, no backup.
Portland City Commissioner Rene Gonzalez represents the Lentz neighborhood of Portland. He sent Fox 12 this statement saying, quote, "While it's critical to support local small businesses, big box retailers offer an affordable option for working class families throughout the city, including East Portland. Rising crime and an inhospitable business climate have been too tough on Portland businesses, and we need to work harder and smarter as a city to keep employers and shopping options from leaving." Daryl says he's hoping something changes in the neighborhood surrounding his business, because that hope in the business community is running out.
If you go down all along, and Maine people have been here for a while, they'll tell you it's sad. they're, they get mad, but what can you do? They get disgusted, but then they just sad and say, I'm really sad for Portland.
And Real Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler also sent me a lengthy statement in response to the crime in this area, and also Walmart closing. And parts of it say that Portland police are still working to hire 300 more officers to address, the crime in the city. And also his office is connecting businesses with grants to help repair damage left by things like vandalism. But if you'd like to read his whole statement, you can head to our website, kptv.com. Reporting live in Southeast Portland, Connor McCarthy, Fox 12 Oregon.
Oh, sorry. There we go. I was on mute. That's the first of the two local news reports covering what is going on. And of course, you can tell that the city's basically reversing course on defunding the police and hiring more. I think the gentleman there said that they're going to hire 300 more. That's quite a few. And obviously, when you're losing business and losing revenue, city leaders are eventually going to have to do something. So you can have all the policies you want around defunding the police and allowing, people speak up in riots and destroy businesses and post offices and things. But eventually, that's going to break your economy and people are going to pull out. And I think that's exactly what's going on right now. And I think that's what the story really portends. And so we're going to go to our second video now. And this one is a convenience store owner fed up with crime in downtown Portland. And just listen to the way that he discusses what's going on and how long he's been there and what they're doing to prep for that. What they're doing to prep for that is very, very interesting. Let's listen in real quick on what he is doing.
Here's a look now at the number of shootings in Portland from over the last year. In 2022, there were nearly 1,300 shootings, just a few short of the 2021 record. However, more people got hurt last year than in previous years. 393 in 2022 as compared to 391 in 2021. There were a total of 96 homicides last year, and that is up from 2021. Out of the homicides from last year, 78 involved a gun. Meantime, in Northeast Portland, an early morning shooting has damaged an apartment building. Portland police say they received reports of shots fired about 1:30 this morning on the 4200 block of Northeast Halsey Street. Officers say numerous shots were fired from a vehicle and hit the building. Nobody was hurt, and police say at this point, no one is in custody. Caught on camera, thieves targeting a local business in downtown Portland. The owner of Park Avenue Market in Southwest Portland says he is fed up with the amount of crime that he's seeing in his neighborhood and the lack of action from city leaders. Fox 12's Connor McCarthy spoke to the owner, and he joins us now to show us some shocking surveillance video that's become available. Connor?
𝘎𝙀𝘾𝙆𝙀 says that the same suspect came back twice this weekend to steal from his store. And this is not an isolated incident. He says since the start of the pandemic, he's watched increase all around his neighborhood, whether it's people stealing from his store, smashing windows, or assaulting his employees. He says that he no longer feels safe operating his business here in downtown Portland. It was all caught on camera. A man jumps over the counter at Park Avenue Market Friday night, grabbing merchandise and running off. And then Sunday night, the same thing happens again. A man jumps over the counter, grabs merchandise, and runs off. Each time, the cashier chases after him.
It's not safe, just we try be in the business, open the door, for our family and the neighborhood. But it seems like, it's going bad every day.
𝘎𝙀𝘾𝙆𝙀 owns the market on Southwest Park and Clay. He says over the 2 decades he's worked in downtown after immigrating from Iraq, the last 3 years have been the worst when it comes to crime.
This city, it was a beautiful. Right now, become just a bad neighborhood.
You can see it in his store. The frame surrounding the front door is full of pictures of those who've stolen or assaulted him and his employees.
Last 2 years, 2 years and a half, with the pandemic, we got hit 11 times and breaking the business in a different way. And we had the windows happen 2 weeks ago.
Yosef feels Portland police aren't taking these types of crimes seriously. After this weekend, he says he's changed some policies for his store.
I'm allowing my employee carrying the gun, protecting the self-defense. And I used to not reckon the business, but you know, like now we don't have a choice.
He says he wants a change in leadership in the city because he's watching businesses leave his neighborhood from the increase in crime. Yosef is hoping things will turn around. If not, he says the suburbs might be a better option to run a business safely.
Every day I'm hoping, like, maybe, yeah, come on, this time, next month, it's all the promise, you know, you heard from whoever the leader in this state or the city. I'm just like, all right, you know, maybe we have another chance, but doesn't do anymore.
Well, I did reach out to Portland police, and they say that they responded to the 911 call in less than 5 minutes. But I did follow up asking to address some of Yosef's frustration, and so far I have not gotten a statement on that question. Reporting live in Southwest Portland, Connor McCarthy, Fox 12 Oregon.
So there we go. You have it straight from the horse's mouth. The local media this year especially has been covering it quite a bit because honestly, it's a big issue. And essentially what you see happening because of all those reports and what's happening in Portland is the rest of the state is seeing that and the leaders are going, oh, hell no, we're going to go join Idaho to the point they're actually wanting to leave their state. This is huge. We've seen kind of stuff like this earlier in American history, especially when we're going through the first 150 years. But if you look back, even dating back to World War II in the beginning of the 1900s, I don't recall hearing so many local and potentially state leaders saying, yeah, we just want to leave Dodge. So what does this mean for the precious metals? Well, I think what's coming is you're seeing the population within the United States start to fracture. You're seeing the people that are more in line with the policies around Portland and the harmful things that can do economically and culturally. And then I think you see people who look at that and say, heck no. And so you're having this divergence. And it's possible we'll see some county, city, and state lines redrawn. But I think what that means for the precious metals is people are, not only are they going to reject some of the state and local policies, but I think they're going to reject state and local money as well, because they know that's what's going to feed the system. And I think people are starting to prepare with precious metals. A lot of people certainly may go to cryptos or other things as well, may develop their skills, do the whole prepper thing. We can make a checklist for that. But essentially, I think they're going to go gold and silver. And I think this is a boon for gold and silver. We've seen the gold backs, which are the paper currencies, basically have gold imbued in them, worth basically $1, and then you can trade those. We have those in several states. We have states doing their own depositories. We have, I think, is it 13 states now, with a 14th coming, that have removed taxes on gold and silver so that they can function as money. Some are explicitly saying so it can function as money. Some are just saying, oh, we're removing taxes. And I think what that is the state and local governments are basically, or especially local ones, are basically saying, hey, man, we don't necessarily want to be in the system, but we don't want to announce it yet. I don't think anybody really wants to come out and say, yeah, we're going to thumb our nose at the dollar. We're going to go to our own currencies, because right now, politically, that would put them in a bind with the federal level in terms of money that they may be receiving, or potential legal action, stuff like that. I think what's happening is a lot of states and local municipalities have been doing this for a while, probably 10 or 12 years, because we've certainly seen a lot of people talking about this in the last 10 or 12 years, especially since the last recession. I think a lot of them are gearing up for the eventual leaving of the dollar system, and as well as that, in tandem, the current set of local, state, and federal laws. In other words, I think townships are not only gearing up to reject the dollar, I think they're gearing up to reject the existing laws on the books, because we're operating outside the rule of law, and they want the rule of law. People want the rule of law, and along with rule of law goes sound money, because without sound money, you can't have rule of law. We saw what happened, the establishment of the dollar in 1913. About 10 years past that, and our economy is basically collapsing. We have riots, we have businesses being affected. And I think it's going to be a return to sound money. And I think the return to sound money is what's going to enable these free communities to exist. And so not only that, but it was interesting. I've been talking with several people, and one of the things that we've been talking about, just, turning over our mind, is the fact that I think the black market is already here. Not only for precious metals, but for goods and services. Because if you look at the employment statistics, you have the BLS coming out and saying we created 517,000 jobs, but it was a mathematical adjustment. There weren't actual, or a formula adjustment to the numbers, to the math. It wasn't actually that many jobs. And so I think what's happening is the feds are trying to use the numbers because their measures don't accurately measure it. So they're just making up the gap by, pressing a button on a computer, putting an input into a spreadsheet and saying, oh, it's all good. We actually created those jobs when they didn't, because the employment situation's gotten so bad that they don't want the public to know, because they would panic. Think about that FDIC video I played a week or two ago where the FDIC was saying, yeah, we're going to crash, but we want to tell the public because we panic. Well, state and local authorities are going to do the same thing, especially in cities and dense cities that have issues like Portland does, that Detroit does, certain other areas of the country. They're not going to come out and say we're headed for the collapse, because they don't want to panic people, because that would make panic them, put them into gold and silver. People may quit their jobs. You may have issues with services, and they don't want to do that. But I think that's what people are starting to gear up for. And I think that black market economy is actually here, a gray market, if you want to call it. Black has such a negative connotation. I think what it is the people saying, we're going to facilitate our own trade and businesses. We're not going to do it in the dollar system, and we're not going to do it in the existing political system. And if that means that we have to vote to leave our state so that we can get out of that, we're going to do it. And I think that's exactly what Oregon is doing. And I think you're going to see more states do it. I think more states, you may see counties in California do this. You may see counties in other economically ravaged and challenged areas that tend to have these ultra liberal, I don't even know what to call them. They're not liberal, really. I'd call them Marxist. I don't even think it has anything to do with the Democratic Party or liberalism in general. I think it has to do with like a Marxist communist bent for certain elements. And it may not even be Democrats. I think they're just people that are bent on centralized control. And I think what we're seeing is people reject that. So I think it's going to be a boon for the precious metals big time. I think that the black market is here, and people aren't re-entering employment with employers because either the jobs aren't there, or they don't trust them, or due to inflation, it doesn't meet their cost of living. So they're establishing new businesses. They're routing goods and products. You know, think about the supply chain. How's the supply chain get solved? Can you solve it at the federal level? Not really. You can do some things to make some laws and loosen it up and facilitate some things, maybe even tax breaks or other fiscal measures. But the people that are going to solve the supply chain are the people that make the supplies, and that's people that make stuff. And that leads me to my last point. I think we're seeing the return of manufacturing to America. Now, America hasn't been a manufacturing nation in a long time, but I think you're going to see it because state and local communities need a way to support themselves outside of the dollar system that's going to collapse, and the service-based economy is not going to be here because enough people aren't going to have money. So either the service-based economy is going to shrink in terms of overall, or the prices are going to have to shrink, or service levels are going to have to shrink because people aren't going to be able to afford it. And it's probably going to be a combination of all of those. And the black market economy is here. And I think people are unemployed know it. And it started, you know, with the gig economy, but I think it's gone beyond that. I think people now are setting up manufacturing facilities. I think they're setting up their own home daycare. I think they're setting up their own grocery stores. They're doing their own services. They're making their own stuff. I have friends that are making precious metals, and it's a really hard business. Why would you want to make precious metal when you have so many places you can get it? Because they believe in freedom, and they know that we have to do it here or we may not have it. And my friends Ian and Jim, you know, or with Silverback and with Arc Silver, are doing that because they believe in manufacturing. They believe getting silver out to the people, and that's why they're doing it. And I think you're seeing that across the nation. And it would not surprise me at all if people are building more and more businesses outside the system because they have no choice, because the system doesn't work. The system has failed them. It has failed them. It's not constitutionally sound. It's predatory. And at this point, you can't create wealth through money. You have to create wealth through labor and through creation. Okay, you have to create something. You have to use natural resources to create something of value, put your labor into it to transform that product into something that somebody's going to want to buy. You can't just use financial structures to increase financial wealth because it's a Ponzi and it collapses. And that's where we are. We're in the collapse, and we're nearing the final stage of this collapse because you're starting to see this really come out inside the United States. Okay, the United States is not a third world country. Is Portland right now resembling a third world country? Probably not quite, but getting very close. And I think certainly that's why some people want to move out. And I think we're going to continue to see this. And last request I have for you guys, last thing I'll say here, is that I do believe it would make sense for you guys, if you're establishing your own businesses and you want to advertise those businesses, I think what we'll do is we'll start helping you on Gold, Silver Pros. So if it's a business that you're running that, you know, of course, we're gonna have to make sure it's legitimate, but if it's a business that you're running that provides value to the community and you're a small business and you have a challenge of advertising and finding your market and I can help you, send an email to robert@goldsilverpros.com. And at some point, if I get enough interest, we'll start talking about those businesses online. I'll give you guys some free advertising to help you out because at the end of the day, this benefits us all. We need our goods and supplies. We need a functioning economy. And if I can help by helping you advertise your small local business, please let me know and I'll put it out there just to help you guys out. And of course, it has to be a legitimate business. I'm not going to advertise anything that I feel may not, follow the rules. I don't want to advertise any business that's not lawful, in other words. But I do want to advertise businesses that are mom and pops or local communities, that's food-based or money-based or service-based or manufacturing-based, that are goods for the economy that we need. So if you're interested, send me an email at robert@goldsilverpro. So if you get enough interest, I'll put it out there and we'll help you. Okay, I'll do as much as I can for you on this channel, because we got to help each other. We're at the point we need to help each other, or we're going to be like Portland, Oregon, and having half the state voting to join Idaho. I'm sure Idaho is going, what the hell? Like, we didn't know this was going on. Idaho may get bigger. And maybe Oregon's only half of what it was. And maybe that happens to California as well. Think about California. Maybe the populous city centers form one part of California, and the other part of California maybe aligns more with the Eastern Oregon, Idaho sort of thought process. And I think we're going to see that. And I think we're going to see that around areas like New York and Detroit and other areas that have just been hit so hard by these policies that are financial in nature, but don't provide value and are destroying local economies, to the point that people are just sick and effing tired of it, to be honest with you. All right, final on the poll. Would you live in Portland in its current format? 6% said yes. The other 92% said no or yes, but only with body armor. Tongue-in-cheek question. Appreciate you guys answering. Thank you so much to Peter Frohwein, our channel moderator, for riding shotgun, being so enthusiastic and answering crowd questions and working with the crowd and being our moderator. We do appreciate that very much, Peter. And I think that's going to about do it for today, guys. I appreciate you so much being on the channel. If you want to know where we're at, go to goldsilverpros.com. You can see us now on TikTok. We just started doing that, and I'll start creating more videos on that next week. We've also got the YouTube channel, which has started to grow again, which is awesome. It's really had some momentum. And our Twitter channel, I think, which has almost quadrupled in size in the last year plus. So we're doing pretty well with our social media. You guys can find us there. And then, of course, I'm going to start writing again. So just a little bit of hint about something coming out. I'm going to start writing and going more in depth on some of this stuff, and going to platforms in which I can provide even more depth analysis than what I can here, because it's a different format and it allows for that. So stay tuned for those announcements. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This has been March 7th, 2023, Cowboy Metals live stream. We broadcast from the great state of Texas and take no BS, and we tell you the truth. And today's truth is what's going on in Oregon is likely to multiply to other states. And at some point in time, we're going to talk about physical security. We're going to go beyond economics, monetary security, and talk about physical security and that type of thing as well. That's also a hint for you what we'll be covering in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on the program. This has been Rob Kientz, your host. Until next time.